Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this Red Gaming Tech.com video, I want to discuss with you the next generation console pricing, aka let's make some predictions and be wrong in a couple of months' time. Obviously, price is one of the most important factors when it comes to your decision purchasing a next generation console. Former Xbox boss Albert Penello said much the same thing, and he believes that there's no way Sony will charge over $499 for the next generation PlayStation. But as of the time I'm recording this video, neither Sony or Microsoft wish to commit to the pricing of their respective systems. And I truly believe that there is still some flexibility for both companies, especially Microsoft, who have said, or at least hinted multiple times, that they want to basically see what Sony does and then try their best to, well, counter it. Now, we have seen some price listings, particularly for the PlayStation 5, pop up online. Recently, Amazon France listed both the all-digital system as well as the standard system for $399 and $499 respective of the system, but that is in euros. Although I'm personally skeptical that Amazon France actually had the real pricing of the system at this point. Generally, this type of info will be kept very close-knit within Sony, literally just a few people. For example, the PlayStation 5's final design was not known by like everyone in the company. It wasn't like, Bob, who happens to deliver letters around the company, no disrespect to individuals who do, know that information. It was down to select individuals within the company because obviously they don't want this information to just trickle out to everyone, right? So with that said though, there are some guesses we can make regarding the pricing strategy. Let's start with Lockhart, which is supposedly the much less powerful next generation console from Microsoft. It's still based on RDNA 2 and blah blah blah, but it does have several cutbacks. The first of which is that the GPU inside the machine is considerably less powerful, thanks to drastic cuts in the number of compute units. Supposedly it's around 4 T-flops. So what does all of this mean? Well, the APU itself could be much smaller. And this has several benefits from a cost perspective. For one, it's just cheaper to produce because you can get way more dies per wafer. And secondly, theoretically anyway, yields may be a bit better because you're dealing with smaller dies. Although, to my understanding, the Xbox Series X is being produced with 56 compute units. With 4 disabled, the PlayStation 5 has 40 compute units, but with 4 disabled, Microsoft and Sony employed the similar strategy with the previous generation with a couple of spare CUs which were disabled once again for yield purposes. Furthermore, this also means that Lockhart doesn't need so much in the way of power delivery. The PSU can be less powerful, VRMs, blah, 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 all of that can be scaled down. The Series X has around a 300 watt power delivery, power requirement. So this could presumably be, let's call it the 200-ish watts. They still will need to do things like, well, run the cooling unit on the system, the APU, the CPU will still take lots of power. The SSD, even plugging in things like joypads or other peripherals, all of which will of course consume energies. So we can probably say that Microsoft's final target will be considerably cheaper because even the cooling assembly, the case, can be shrunk down in size and scope too. Theoretically, this means Sony will be facing off an Xbox Series X, which is going to be $250 to $300. I think honestly, $300 is going to be about the limit Microsoft can charge for this system, despite the fact that yes, it's intended to kind of do xCloud gaming and everything else under the sun. I honestly feel that anything more than $250 is kind of pushing it. Next up, I think creeping up the price scale will be the all-digital PlayStation 5. I actually would not be surprised if it's $399. I hasten to add, this is without leaks. This is not insider privileged information. These are guesses. The reason I think that we're going to see $399 for the PlayStation 5 all digital is because I believe Sony will do their damnedest. They will try anything they can to have you purchase digital titles for the next generation PlayStation. Long story short, their profit margins increase. And we've seen some comments from Sony recently that they're not really focused so much on the price of the system. They want the value of the PlayStation. This is what Amy covered yesterday with Jim Ryan. And I truly believe that this is going to be Microsoft's strategy too. But we'll get more into the Microsoft side of the equation when I talk about the Series X in a moment. But with Sony, I think it's going to be getting people to buy the digital system. Remember, if you purchase the physical versions of the media, retailers get a cut too, whereas on the other hand, it goes all to the PlayStation Store and, of course, the publishers, thus cutting out, I suppose you could say, the middleman. There's also some concessions in the cost of the unit too, like the Blu-ray drive is probably about $30 at a guess. The actual SSD size is identical, 825 gigabytes to my understanding. And I will be putting out another video next couple of days regarding how the SSDs and the consoles work. So definitely check that out if you want more information on how the SSDs in both systems function. So yeah, get subscribed. I'm actually recording that today, to tell you the truth. Anyway, getting back on topic, there is probably a small saving as well in the actual production of the case, but it's probably very titchy, and it's not like it's going to require an entire new like PSU unit to power the Blu-ray drive in the physical media version. And next, once again, creeping up on the price scale, I think we're going to have the Xbox Series X. And I'm fairly certain that Microsoft's strategy will be to undercut Sony for A, and B, I believe that they will bundle in the Game Pass. And I think it's going to be minimum of 3 months, likely 6 months. I don't think they'll go to a year, because a year would mean that, well, they don't get any recurring payments from you for that period. I wouldn't be surprised if Lockhart gets 3 months and Series X gets 6 months. But once again, these are all guesses. And I think Microsoft will charge for $9, possibly a little more, but I think they will try to squeeze that out. Once again, they're going to make money from Games Pass, Xbox Live, peripherals which are sold, including headsets, gamepads, whatever. So if you rage quit a game, throw the controller against the wall, ka-ching, Microsoft makes money. So yeah, I suspect personally 449. I also want to add an additional bit of audio in regards to the Xbox, because allegedly the Xbox Series S in particular, Lockhart, is going to be very cheap. Indeed, what we're actually hearing from Eastman on the Beyond 3D forums is Microsoft may only charge like $200 for this console, as they believe that it's going to be the in for users, particularly with xCloud. And allegedly, there is also really good compression technology, which we're going to be seeing with online gaming, for cloud gaming, excuse me, with Microsoft. Now, I've gone more extensively into this in a news video, which I'll try to remember to link in the video description today. But long story short, Eastman seems to be believing that Microsoft will undercut Sony, even if it does eat into their short-term profits, or possibly even cost them money per console sold, simply because they can make that money back with, once again, digital services, games, peripherals, and so on and so on. And then Sony, probably $499. I think the PlayStation 5's SSD is not cheap. And to my understanding, the cooling assembly in the PlayStation 5, although it's still not been officially revealed, it's not easy to produce. And this actually goes back to one of my leaks that I had back in the day, where I was stating that the PlayStation 5's final design had been done for a long time, but Sony were holding it back until the mass production models were finished. And we know now that the console itself is huge. It's actually bigger than the Series X. And I don't have any problems with that personally. Like, the size of a console honestly doesn't bother me. I'm about to say something super duper controversial here, but I actually really love the original Xbox design. I had the Crystal system, and I really liked it. And I even liked the PlayStation 3 bread bin, so maybe I don't have much taste in aesthetics of systems. I don't know. Either way, I think Sony are most likely going to charge $499 for the PlayStation 5. I will once again stress that this is not privileged information. I am guessing here, so I could well be wrong. Most importantly, to my understanding, the mass production of both Sony and Microsoft's consoles has started. I believe the Series X began production slightly ahead of the PlayStation 5, although I'm not certain of that. It doesn't really matter either way. I just hope that we don't have a shortage of systems come launch, because obviously that would suck. We don't want, for example, Sony to only have a certain number of PlayStations, so you can't even get the damn thing. So obviously retailers would be out of stock, and your only recourse would be to buy really inflated systems from, let's say, eBay. And as I said, that would be really crappy. But either way, I'm going to be very curious to see what Sony and Microsoft charge going into the next generation. As I just said, it really and truly is down to the pricing, which is one of the deciding factors, and obviously exclusives as well. For me, I'm going to kind of wait for the next generation and see what the games are going to be. I've not really decided which console, or maybe both, I'll purchase. It really, to be totally blunt, comes down to the exclusives, prices of both, availability of both, and also what the roadmaps are. Just for example, let's say the PlayStation 5 launches with a couple of really nice games, but there's nothing incredible for a couple of months, maybe even 6 months. I may choose to wait. This is particularly true for me because the next generation PC stuff is coming out as well, and quite frankly, I have such a back catalogue of games right now. One of my friends actually is putting aside around £1,500 to pick up a PlayStation 5 as well as a the 4K TV. So I'm curious what your plans are for the next generation. Like, do you want to purchase one at launch? Are you just waiting to see what the damn things cost? And so on and so on. Anyway, also, leave your predictions down below what you think the consoles will sell for, and then we can all be wrong in a couple of months' time. But for now, I'm going to let you all go. Thank you very much for watching the video. The normal stuff, like the video, because obviously that helps engagement, and of course if you do comment below, that would help us a ton as well. Subscribe for much more of my rambling, and I will see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.